Have you ever found yourself always being nice, but paying the emotional price for it? Today, we're going to explore why boundless kindness can be dangerous and how to use it wisely. If this video touches your heart, subscribe to the channel and give it a like, as this will help it reach more people. Being nice is an admirable quality. Most people value someone who is kind, empathetic, and willing to help. However, many discover throughout their lives that being excessively good can bring negative consequences: emotional exhaustion, exploitation by others, lack of limits, and even loss of opportunities. This does not mean we should abandon kindness, but rather learn to use it with balance, discernment, and intention. Stoic philosophy offers a practical, realistic look at how to practice kindness without becoming a victim. It invites us to act with integrity, but also to protect our energy and our values. Often the idea of being good is confused with the need to always say yes, to always please, to always seek peace at any cost. But this leads to a silent trap, carrying other people's expectations instead of keeping your own interests in check. The Stoics understood that virtue is not limited to kindness. It includes courage, wisdom, justice, and temperance. And these virtues need to be balanced so that kindness does not become a form of submission or self-denial. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not over external events." This means that although you can choose to be kind, you don't need to allow that choice to become a rigid rule that prevents you from taking care of yourself. Kindness, when misdirected, can generate dependency. Many people begin to rely on themselves too much, thinking they are the only source of help or understanding. And so, you end up taking on responsibilities that don't fit you, wasting time, energy, and even money. Epictetus said, "No thing is good in itself. It is the use we make of it that makes it good or bad." Applying this to kindness, we can understand that being kind for the sake of kindness, without considering its personal impact, can be counterproductive. True kindness must be guided by principles, not by a need for approval or fear of conflict. And this requires emotional maturity, self-knowledge, and the courage to say no when necessary. Another common problem is that excessive kindness generates a lack of limits. Limits are not barriers. They are healthy boundaries that allow you to maintain your identity, your mental health, and your ability to make informed decisions. When you have no limits, you start to feel responsible for solving all the problems in the world around you, and that is impossible and very harmful. Seneca wrote, "The wise man does not seek to be useful to everyone, but only to those who deserve it." This phrase is powerful because it reminds us that kindness must be aligned with justice. You shouldn't be kind to someone who constantly disrespects or manipulates you. Nor should you sacrifice yourself for people who don't respect your contributions. This isn't selfishness, it's emotional intelligence. It's recognizing that boundless kindness can turn into passivity, and that passivity in turn can ruin your life. Furthermore, being too nice can lead to a loss of authority. When you always give in, always accept, always avoid confrontation, people quickly learn that you don't have the strength. They stop respecting your opinions, your decisions, and your values. One of the most important teachings of Stoicism is that respect begins with self-respect. If you don't establish clarity about what you want and what you tolerate, other people will decide for you. Marco Aurelio warned against moral fragility. Those who seek to please everyone, in the end, please no one. This is especially relevant today, where social pressure and a culture of constant compromise can make you feel obligated to avoid conflict at all costs. But sometimes conflict is inevitable, and it's also an opportunity to show who you really are. A person who knows how to use kindness firmly is more respected, more trustworthy, and more influential than one who bends to everything. There is also a risk that kindness generates unsustainable expectations. People often start to expect you to be available 24 hours a day, to have infinite patience, to tolerate inappropriate behavior just because you are nice. This can lead to toxic relationships, unbalanced work, and even the feeling that you are a saint who can never make mistakes. However, the Stoics remind us that true virtue is not to please, but to act consistently. You don't have to be perfect to be good. It just needs to be honest, clear, and aligned with your values. Practicing kindness with purpose rather than unrestricted commitment allows you to preserve your mental health and freedom. One of the first practices you can adopt is to clearly define your limits. This doesn't mean being rude or unapproachable, but rather knowing where to stop giving and where to start taking care of yourself. For example, if someone is often late for your meetings and you always adjust the time, this may seem like kindness, but it is actually fueling an unhealthy pattern of behavior. Instead, tell yourself, today I will honor my time, even if it causes discomfort. This sounds simple, but it is extremely effective. By acting consistently, you send a clear message that your kindness has a limit and that you deserve respect. And surprisingly, many people respond well to this. They adjust their behavior because they see that you have conviction. Another core technique is to practice kindness with intention, not compulsion. We often help others because we feel we need to, not because we want to. This creates an emotional burden, as help comes from the heart, but comes as an obligation. The Stoics defended the idea that genuine goodness arises from within, not from without. It is done with generosity, but without the illusion that it will completely change someone else's life. Saying no at certain times doesn't mean being cruel. It means being sincere. It means recognizing that not everyone is ready to receive help gratefully, and that some people just expect you to keep doing it. Kindness without conditions can become a form of servitude, and this, in the end, harms everyone, including the beneficiary himself. It is also important to recognize that not everyone deserves your kindness. Someone who constantly disrespects you, who uses your generosity as a springboard to gain an advantage, or who treats you like a resource rather than a worthy human being, is not on the right track to deserve your attention. Kindness, when directed toward people who do not reciprocate, can become a cycle of frustration. As Seneca stated, there is no greater strength than the courage to refuse what does not serve you. This is not an attack on kindness, but rather an invitation to be more selective with who receives yours. There's no shame in taking care of yourself first. In fact, this is part of the Stoic ethic itself. Living with inner harmony is the first step to living well with others. Practicing self-compassion is fundamental to this process. Often by being too kind, we blame ourselves for failing, for saying no, for prioritizing our needs. This generates guilt, anxiety, and even isolation. But the Stoics understood that kindness begins with being kind to oneself. If you don't treat yourself with respect, you will hardly be able to treat others that way. Tell yourself, I'm here to support myself, as well as support others. This phrase creates a safe space for you to breathe, reflect, and move forward. And when you treat yourself with compassion, you impart more serenity into your actions, even when they involve saying difficult things. Positive visualization can also be used to shape your mindset about kindness. Before you get into a situation where you need to say no or set a limit, visualize yourself doing so calmly, firmly, and with integrity. Imagine saying something like, I want to help, but today I need to take care of myself first. This not only prepares your mind to better deal with what's to come, but it also reduces previous anxiety. It creates a mental state of confidence and control, allowing you to approach interactions with more serenity and purpose. Stoicism does not seek illusions of perfection, but rather conscious preparation to face the world as it is. Maintaining a reflective morning routine also helps avoid uncontrolled kindness. As soon as you wake up, before getting out of bed, take a few minutes to review the interactions you had the previous day. Ask yourself, was my kindness yesterday healthy? Was I kind, but was I also respectful? This practice helps organize the mind and create a more balanced schedule. It promotes responsibility for your actions and prevents you from going into the day feeling like you need to please everyone. Over time, this reflection becomes a natural habit, allowing you to maintain your composure even in complex situations. Conscious breathing can be used in moments of emotional tension, when you are faced with someone who is testing you, or when you feel tired of always being present. Breathe deeply and bring your attention to the now. Inhale through your nose. For 4 seconds, hold for 4, and exhale through your mouth for 6. Repeat this cycle a few times. This technique activates the parasympathetic nervous system, helping to calm the body and mind. Over time, it becomes a natural habit, allowing you to regain balance quickly, even in difficult situations. Breathing with intention can be done at any time, while waiting in traffic, before a difficult conversation, or even during an emotional crisis. And that makes all the difference. Another useful practice is to write down your thoughts on paper. Excessive kindness often arises from unexpressed emotions, accumulated frustrations, and unclear expectations. Writing down these feelings helps you organize your mind and see clearly what is affecting you. You may ask, is this thought still relevant? Does it help me move forward? What can I do about it? This not only eases the mental load, but also gives you a clearer perspective on the challenges you face. Writing is a form of dialogue with yourself, and lucid dialogues help reduce anxiety. It also serves as a record of growth, showing how you were able to face difficulties with more clarity and fortitude. Over time, you may realize that many of the problems that arise from kindness are caused by a lack of clear communication. Many times, you try to please everyone, but instead, you create expectations that you cannot meet. This generates wear, hurt, and even superficial relationships. For the Stoics, assertive communication was an essential virtue. They understood that saying difficult things with kindness is much more powerful than always saying yes to save face. Practicing phrases that express your feelings without blaming the other person is a way to build trust and avoid misunderstandings. Listening carefully and responding clearly is a gift you give to others, and at the same time strengthens your own awareness and self-control. Being present in interactions is another key to using kindness wisely. Often, we are so worried about being good, about not hurting, about not offending, that we stop being authentic. This generates empty relationships, where you feel neither seen nor heard. For the Stoics, the present was the only place we could truly live. So practice being physically and mentally there, without digital distractions, without anticipated judgments, and without emotional resistance. This increases the quality of connections, as it allows you to actually be connected to others and not just occupy a physical space. Being present is not easy, especially in a world full of social pressures, but it is one of the most transformative practices for any type of relationship, and by extension, for your own mental health. Finally, remember that kindness without limits is not virtue, it is vulnerability. And vulnerability, when repeated, can turn into suffering. The art of being nice is not about saying yes to everything. It's about saying yes with purpose and no with kindness. It's about acting with love, but also with intelligence. It's about taking care of yourself so you can fully care for others. When we apply Stoic wisdom to kindness, we begin to notice a gradual change in the quality of our interactions. You become less reactive, clearer, and more aligned with your values. Kindness stops being a way of controlling others or blaming yourself for not being enough. It becomes a conscious choice, an act of courage, and an exercise in self-confidence. Stoicism does not seek to eliminate kindness, but rather to transform it into something sustainable, healthy, and true. Kindness is not weakness. Kindness is strength. It's the courage to say what you feel, even if it causes discomfort. It is the ability to remain calm in the face of injustice. It is the wisdom of choosing who you share your generosity with. And, more than anything, it is the ability to maintain integrity without losing humanity. So even if the people around you don't practice stoicism, you can be the influence that brings more balance, more clarity, and more authenticity to your relationships. Start small. Breathe before speaking, observe before judging, and act before reacting. Every step you take towards serenity and inner coherence is reflected in the world around you. And over time, you'll realize that kindness doesn't have to be a burden. It can be a strength, a force that not only improves your life, but also the lives of those around you. Remember, being good is a choice, but being good in an intelligent and balanced way is an art. It is understanding that kindness without firmness is not respect. It is recognizing that kindness, when aligned with courage, becomes a complete virtue. And it's this virtue that can transform your life, not destroy it. If you've ever found yourself suffering from being too good, it's time to rethink your approach. It's okay to be kind, as long as you also know when to stop. For kindness, when exercised wisely, not only saves others, but also saves you. And that's what really matters.